Okay, hi guys. I want to fly through the homework from yesterday. Oh, this isn't it. This is actually today's work. So here it is here. I gave you 4 questions to do. And these were all focused on, I said, not the kind of tricky parts of it, just the more straightforward ones. Okay. So, okay, we'll just fly through these, putting them on the number lines and see where we are. So question 8, it is 3x minus 9 less than or equal to 12, and it says that x is going to be a natural number, so for when we're drawing our number line. Okay, so we want to isolate the x, so we plus the 9 to cancel that and plus the 9 on this side. So 3x, copy down the sign, 12 and 9 is 21. And again, we're trying to isolate the x, so we're going to divide by 3 on both sides. So then x, and I've just copied the sign every time there. Okay, so translate. So translating that is x is less than or equal to 7. So I'm going to do it here. Insert my line. So put the line in. It's less than 7, so I'm going to be getting smaller than 7. So that means the 7 goes over here. And then I'm going to go smaller than 7, which is 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and minus 1. Okay, so my dots, it does say or equal to, so I'm going to include the 7. And then I'm going to go smaller than 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Always be wary of going to 0, just in case it's natural. And in this case, it is. So we won't do 0 and minus 1 because they are not natural. So it's just 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we don't need to shade in between because it's natural and they're whole numbers. Okay? Right, so 9. I'm going to take it down and then I'll scroll down. So it's 4x plus 3, copy the sign, minus 9. And then it's going to be integers, which are whole numbers, positive and negative. Okay? All right, so let's solve. So keep the x. I want to get rid of the plus 3, so I do that with a minus 3 and minus 3 to balance out. So 4x, copy the sign, and minus 9 minus 3 is minus 12. Again, I want the x. So I'm going to divide by 4 and divide by 4. So x, copy the sign, and that's a minus, and this one's a plus. So different signs give me minus, and 12 divided by 4 is 3. So translate, x is greater than minus 3. So insert my line. Here we go. Greater than minus 3 means I'm going to be moving to the right. So I'm going to put my minus 3 on the left, and I'm going to make numbers bigger than minus 3, which is minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, and again, as always, just fill the number line. 3, 4. So there is no or equal to, so I'm not going to include the minus 3. I'm just going to include the numbers that are greater than minus 3. So minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I am going to include an arrow on the end there to say that it can continue. And then I did say at the start, this question 9, was integers. Integers are whole numbers, so no need to shade in the line. Yeah? Okay. so next, 6, x minus 2, so this is question 12. Um, 18. Okay, so 6 bracket x minus 2. Have I got the sign the right way? I do, and 18. And then just to note that x in this question is real, so the real numbers are all the numbers, so that's going to be important. And we have brackets here, so we are going to have to take account of those brackets and distributively multiply the 6. So that will give us 6x minus 12. Now we can isolate or begin to isolate. So the minus 12 will be gotten rid of with a plus 12 and then a plus 12 on the far side. So 6x and what's that, 30. And then we'll divide by 6 to isolate the x. And 30 divided by 6 is 5. And I just copy the sign down the whole way. Translate, x is less than or equal to 5. Okay, so number line less than or equal to 5, which means I need numbers smaller than 5. So I'm going to put 5 on the right. 5 is the biggest possible number on this number line, and I'm going to go smaller. So 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, minus 1, minus 2. So it does say or equal to, which means I will include the 5. So I include the 5, and then numbers less than 5, which is 4, 3, 2, 1. Be careful going across into the 0 in case it's natural. And this one isn't, it's real. So I can keep going. So 0, minus 1, minus 2, and then the arrow because it will continue. And then because it's real, I just looked at that there. So because it's real, it is not just whole numbers. So you will shade in the line. Okay, and then the last one, which is 13. So 13 is 4 times x minus 5 minus 28, and then from the question you can see that we're talking about real numbers again. So again, not just whole numbers, we're talking about whole numbers and the fractions and decimals in between. Okay, so again there's a bracket in this one, so we're going to have to distributively multiply, so let's do that. So we're going to take the 4 and multiply it by the x, and take the 4 and multiply it by the minus 5. So 4x minus 20. Oh, sorry, we're stuck. Okay. Okay, now we can isolate. So we isolate by getting rid of the minus 20 with a plus 20 on the far side. So 4x is, what's that, minus 8. And then we divide by the 4 to isolate the x and divide by the 4. So we get x, and their signs are different, so that's minus and 2. So x is greater than or equal to minus 2. Okay, sorry. So greater than or equal to minus 2. So we're going to be getting greater than minus 2, which means minus 2 needs to be the smallest number in this number line. So that means it goes on the left. So I'm going to put my minus 2 over here, and I'm going to get bigger than minus 2, which is minus 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It does say or equal to, so I will include the minus 2, and then numbers greater than minus 2 is minus 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and my arrow. And then it was real, wasn't it? I said that. Yeah. So it's real, which means I will have to include the fractions and the decimals. So I do my shading of my line. Okay. So that's all the homework. I'm trying to see. There's actually really not many questions here for the other type. Might need to use the higher level book. Okay, so I did tell you that, when did I say it? Here. I said you treat the number lines almost exactly like, what did I mean by that? That's not right. I think I meant treat inequalities. So you treat inequalities almost exactly like equations, okay? So the only time you don't is when you have to divide by a negative number, okay? And this is what I'm going to see is usually more in the higher level book. Just very briefly, this is the higher level chapter. It's split into 3. So they have just solving regular linear equations, which we've done loads of, the fraction ones, which we've done loads of, and then simultaneous equations, which we've done quite recently as well. Okay, so I'm not going back over them, but they're all there. I might give you one of the simultaneous for homework, particularly the one with the fractions, just to see how you get on. Okay, so I'm going down into the chapter, into where it says inequalities, and as always in the higher level book, it repeats a lot of the ordinary level book, so it goes through your numbers all over again and stuff like that. Okay, this one's going to work. Okay, so I suppose the question is, and I'm going to just move over to the right hand side a little bit here. If I can. Okay, so the question is when, I don't know where I am. Okay, here. When is an inequality treated differently from an equation, okay? And this is the way I said in the previous one, almost always the same as an equation. There are situations when it's not, and I'm just going to show you that situation. I'm going to try and make this up, so bear with me for a sec. So 2x plus 6 less than, let's make this 4x and minus, let's go with 10. Okay, so something like this. Okay, and we're being asked to solve this or find the range or something like that. Okay, right, so we haven't actually done one of these yet where there's x's on both sides, but you know how to do this. So you make one side your x side and the other side is your number side or your non-x side, and you start moving things. Okay, so the plus 6 is in the wrong place, so we do a minus 6 to get rid of it and then throw a minus 6 over here. And then the what is it currently, a plus 4x is in the wrong place, so we minus 4x. That'll take it away from there and bring it over here. Yeah, simplify that and we get minus 2x less than minus 16. Okay, and hopefully I have no doubt you guys would say this to me. The next step is to divide by minus 2, which will isolate your x, and divide by minus 2 to balance it out. Okay, this is the situation. This is what you should beware of, okay? So when you solve, when you use all the rules I've taught you for how to solve, and it creates the situation where in order to isolate the x, you have to divide by a negative number. When you divide by a negative number in an inequality, this is the one time that an inequality differs from a regular equation. I'm going to attempt to explain why. Okay, have a look at this. Okay, 6 is greater than 2. That is true, isn't it? 6 is greater than 2. That is definitely true. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to divide, similar to what I'm doing on the other side, or in the question, I'm going to divide both sides by, we go with minus 2 because that's what we're doing in the question. It doesn't really matter what we divide by once it's negative. So we're going to divide both sides of this equation by minus 2, which is something we're allowed to do in maths, providing we do it to one side, we do it to the other side. It's completely allowed, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take the 6 and I'm going to divide it by minus 2. And I'm going to take the 2 and I'm going to divide it by minus 2. This is not annoying at all. Okay, so 6 divided by minus 2 is minus 3, isn't it? And 2 divided by minus 2 is minus 1. So now what I have is that minus 3 is greater than minus 1. Is that true? That's not true. That's false. So when you take an inequality and you divide it by a negative number, in order to ensure that it stays true, you have to swap the inequality. So when you divide an inequality by a negative number, if you don't touch the sign, the inequality will become false. It just happened. So 6 greater than 2 is absolutely true. I divided it by a negative number and the inequality became false. That will happen every single time. So to keep it true, you need to do the dividing. So 6 divided by minus 2 gives me minus 3. And 2 divided by minus 2 gives me minus 1. But I have to remember to swap my inequality so that it faces in the other direction. And now what I have is true. Minus 3 is less than minus 1. That's true. Okay? So the only time inequalities are different from regular equations is when you are going through the solving process, and in order to isolate the x, you have to divide by a negative number. Because dividing by a negative number, you must remember to swap the sign. Okay? So the minus 2 divided by the minus 2 cancels out, isolating my x. The minus 16 divided by the minus 2, the signs are different, so that's a plus. And then 16 divided by 2 is 8. And because I had to divide by a negative, I need to swap the sign. So the answer is x is greater than 8. And then I'd be able to draw my number line. Okay? You might need to listen back to that again, but that is the explanation as to why dividing by a minus changes things, and also how to deal with it. So you solve as normal, and it's only if when you're doing the final bit where you're trying to isolate x, if when you're trying to isolate x you are forced to divide by a minus, then you have to switch the inequality. Otherwise, you'll have this false situation over here. If you simply do the division by the negative number and don't switch the sign, your inequality is not true anymore. You must do the division and switch the sign, and then your inequality is true. Okay? So I did the division, and I swapped my sign. Okay? Right, so I'm going to just pick out a couple of different ones to try. Let's do those 3 there. See them there? Okay, and you'll notice at the end they do give you where am I now? You'll notice at the end they do give you number systems, so you will have to do the number lines on these ones. Okay, so we have the first question here, finishes at the -1, and then it's telling us that that's real numbers, so you'll need to draw the number line. Second one is also real numbers, and the last one is natural numbers. Yeah, so that is Tuesday the 11th of January. Yeah, so we'll finish off inequalities on, is it Friday? I'll be back, please God. So we'll finish off inequalities on Friday, and then I might have a look at some of the slightly harder simultaneouses and stuff in this higher level chapter, just for the crack. Right, cool. I will see you Friday. So make sure you have this homework done for Friday. I'll be checking in on Friday.